10 more laps. 10 more laps. 10 more laps. 10 more laps to go. My 66 model has been raring to go. I worked a lot of hours getting her ready to go. Fixing up the engine so she won't blow. I'll be a winner, I know. 10 more laps. 10 more laps. 10 more laps. 10 more laps to go. I was running way ahead of all the other cars. I was doing fine and everything was good so far. Track was getting hotter with the melting of the tar. 10 more laps to go. 10 more laps. 10 more laps. 10 more.
Good morning.
Hello there. Welcome to Paul's Place, the fastest 1 hour of television you'll ever witness. Another program, another cast of characters, and characters I think fits the bill today. I'm here, Rocky's here, and Ed's here, and brought three more along to entertain the troops. So we'll introduce everybody, and then everybody gets talking, and before everybody gets everything done, somebody will hold up a thing and say, you're in the last 60 seconds, and we'll be starting to do something else. Down on my left, far left, is a new guy, hasn't been here, Lee Hagerfeld. Lee's been around racing all his life.
Pretty much all my life.
Yeah. The one that worked at Swanson Chevrolet, Hagerfeld.
My dad, Norb.
That Norb, yeah, that was your dad.
Right.
And they were you and your, what'd you have, two brothers?
Just one, Lane.
Oh, Lane, okay. Your dad and I went to Detroit on a couple classes and ended up in Canada in a nightclub a couple times.
I can imagine that.
Had some good times. Naturally, Ed from Fisher, the guys putting on this program, and we're going to have the 14th out at 241 in Waynedale, the American Legion. Ed's going to be here, and or is here. He's getting ready to talk about everything that we need to talk about, I guess. On the far side, right directly across from me, is Rocky Fisher. Rocky, he'll have something to say today. And Bob Coutson from Corson from Bearfield Racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Ish, right-hand man or left-hand?
Depends on which day it is.
You'll have something to say, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And Jim Lambert, retired school teacher. Jim finally retired, and now he can enjoy all of the retirement. I've tried to tell him at breakfast a few times that once you retire, you have no more days off. You have no more Christmas and vacation pay or anything like that. That's over with.
Every day is a Saturday.
Every day's, well, I don't know about that. There's a lot of Mondays. Some weeks there's 4 or 5 Mondays. So you got all this to look forward to.
Looking forward to it.
And it goes on forever. So anyway, that's what we got today. And I don't know, I'll turn this thing over to Ed because it's mostly what you're up to do.
November 14th, at the American Legion Post in Waynedale, Post 241, we're having our second racing reunion. We had one 2 years ago, very successful. I think we're going to have a bigger crowd at this one. We've had a lot of input from people, a lot of people calling from long distances away with some interest in it. So we're really excited about that. If we're inviting all the racers and car owners. If the general public would like to come, the Legion is open that night to the public. And as soon as we get done with our festivities, we'll kind of open the place up. You'll be able to see some of your favorite race drivers and listen to them, talk to them. We'll have asking for all kinds of memorabilia, VCR tapes, DVDs, anything we can show pertaining to racing. And be very interesting if you want to just come out and join us later in the evening and look over our wares and watch the films and see what's going on, see what racers act like when they're out having fun.
You mentioned something about favorite drivers. Are they such an animal?
Oh yeah, we all had our favorite drivers. And sometimes it changes.
I don't know. I never. What do you think about that, Rocky? That's Anaconda, isn't it, or something?
Well, it goes from week to week. Depends who bumps who, whether it remains your favorite driver or not. You know.
You know, if a guy goes out the front straightaway and runs you into the infield, he's still your favorite driver.
Sometimes.
If he does it to the right person.
Well, it depends if you're a fan or you're just a fellow driver.
Yeah. I remember you were promoting out of Bearfield once. Yeah, remember that Lowell Smith and Lowell Lance brought that 57 Ford out there with that motor mounted in the it was back behind the firewall. I drove it that one night out there.
That's one of the things that helped IRL cars get started with moving the engines around.
Anyway,
mid-engine car, rear-engine car.
We qualified that car good, and it seemed like in the heat race, I went from first to last in less than a lap. And when I complained to you about these sandbaggers, as they used to call them, remember that name, sandbagger?
Sandbagger, I remember that. Yeah.
You reached around and you got your handkerchief out, and you said, "Paul, have you got a problem?"
Yeah. Well, it was a run what you brung day.
Yeah. Well, evidently I didn't bring what needed to be run because they were running away from me. So.
He brought a unique car, but it just wasn't very fast.
No,
It didn't handle very well either.
No, it scalded the daylights out of
Now,
me.
what year would that have been?
I don't know if that was 77 or if that was previous to that, earlier.
It's in between. It's before Gumpert's, I think.
Yeah, that's earlier, way
Yeah.
earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'd mounted that thing in the middle, and there was no weight on the front end. It did not handle. It was a 1 or 2 lap race car. After the second lap, it was over with. It'd be a good dragster, I guess.
I can remember Jim Carnahan had a rear-engine car. It was a Corvair.
Right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a powerhouse, but it handled so well that he actually did pretty well with it.
Yeah.
Corvair and Volkswagen were in that same class.
But he ran this with the limited late model
Yes.
Villa, and it was
Hobby
with the
stocks,
V8s
yeah.
and so forth.
Yeah.
So it was,
He done that bad.
it
Yeah.
didn't do bad at all.
I wasn't around in racing then.
No.
I was out of that.
Wasn't before your time, I know that.
That was after. There was a time I had to go to work. And that company that I worked for, the Don R. Frucci Company, they'd send you so far out of town on Monday mornings that you needed to make 2 truck payments to get home on a weekend. I worked in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Louisville, Kentucky, Cincinnati, all places. Never was around. So we got new blood here. Tell us about Bearfield. What happened out there this year?
By all accounts, we had a pretty good year. Tom was happy, said the crowd was back up, said it was the best year he'd had in the last about 3 or 4. So we were pleasantly surprised with car counts this year. With the economy the way it was, we were kind of afraid that things would get weak. And it actually built as the year went on. We ended the year pretty strong in most of the classes. Fortunately for the guys, we didn't tear much up until right at the end of the year. The Von der Roes and a couple people tore up some cars the last couple of nights, but I think it was a good building year, and we've got some things we're already working on for next season. We tried some things this year. We brought in the Outlaws after a long time away, and the fans really liked that. The International night got pretty wet, but we got through it.
Yeah.
And we ended up the year with a big private party for Brooks, and that was a lot of fun and something we never tried before, and somehow pulled it off. So
Yeah,
we had a fun year.
I seen an article in one of them papers Brooks put on a destruction derby out there.
Yeah, it was. They got 40 or 50 cars,
59.
something like that. Yeah, and I think they had to pay. It was several thousand to enter a car, and it all went to charity. And they ended up giving away $50,000 to several local charities at the end of the day. And it was pretty much all amateur drivers in it, and it was a lot of fun. We had about 5,000 to 6,000 people out there total during the day, about 3,500 at any one time, and they put up 2 circus tents to feed everybody, and they had fireworks at the end of it. So it was quite the show. It'd be nice if they did it again.
Yeah.
And it was one of those old-fashioned demolition derbies where there wasn't professional cars. It was
Yeah.
just take the glass out and start banging into everybody.
There was a couple of guys that knew what they was doing. The most humorous thing that came out of that was we had one particular car that kept going out of the pit, And our referee keeps going, that 2109 car goes out of the pit again, he's DQ'd. And I said, that's the guy that runs Brooks. He can make a full lap of the track if he wants. He's not getting DQ'd. And he goes, okay.
But they were all front end cars.
Front wheel drives.
And they had moved the fuel tanks up closer to the seat and batteries too. And some of those cars got tore up pretty bad, you know, and just wondered how in the world they still continue to run.
Yeah.
You know.
I didn't know what was going on. I'd have probably took a camera out there
Yeah.
and filmed a little bit of that.
We tried not to let too many people know because our greatest fear was to have 10,000 people swamp the place with the free food and everything
It
else.
was by
so-
invitation only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So my two nephews work at Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the road about all the time with them, paving somewhere. Well, Lee, you haven't said much over here.
Well, no, I've been out of it for a while and just trying to make time to go watch some races now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty busy during the summer, but yeah, I've been in it pretty much all my life. So my dad was around when you was. He
Yeah.
was pit steward at South Anthony for years, and I started, I think, in 75, 77 when I really started getting into it. We was champion in 79, second in 80. From then on, it just kind of backed off a little bit, and I quit in 82, I believe. Come back out with Denny Tucker in 84, just helping him out a little bit. We had a couple cars. Then I run half a year for Joe Brook, I think back in 96 or 98, and that's pretty much been it.
Yeah.
Just trying to get to go watch now.
Well, you've probably spent some time at the villa then.
Yeah, well, it was in 78, I believe. We started out in a late model. We built a late model from the street stock, and I bought one of Joe Bennett's old championship cars, 70 Roadrunner. Rebuilt it, had a 57 frame underneath of it, and we'd done all right running with the old-timer big guys, Jesse Yates and Moose and stuff like that. First half of the season, got beat up a little bit, so we decided to drop down the class. Well, they wasn't going to let me do that. The next year I had to come out in the other class, and we ended up won the second half points and ended up third overall. So it all worked out pretty good. We had some good years.
Yeah, they were, I don't know, the 80s, 90s, and I guess after 2000, outside of when I got involved with this program here about 6 years ago, I'd been away from racing. Outside of my brother Dick was out there, I'd go out and help him once in a while. And other than that, I wasn't around, so there was a lot of racing went on around me that I was not aware of. And every now and then somebody will call me, I ran out there for a long time.
Yeah.
Never heard of them.
Well, you raced at Bearfield and Avila.
We run
Then
Airfield,
did you go
Avila.
over to,
We run Angola a couple of times when we was champion over at Bryan, Ohio in the dirt
Yeah,
in
that's what I was gonna ask you
77.
About
Yeah.
the dirt at Bryan.
Had a lot of help from Joe Bennett over there, and really enjoyed the track.
That's when Buck Stark was running.
Right, Buckins boy.
Joe Bennett, did he know anything about running dirt?
Yeah, he was probably the king back in that time.
That guy did more with less than about anybody you can name.
If every racer could have the same personality as Joe Bennett, it'd be a neat deal, you know. He's got a smile on his face all the time, you know. And so.
I'd heard a story one time when Joe was running the old 57 Plymouth that they'd gone to Heidelberg, Pennsylvania for a huge race, and everybody was kind of, because back then everybody was running 57 Chevys, 56 Fords, and there was this big old bulky Plymouth, and they were kind of laughing at him, and I think he's qualified second fastest.
Was it the Belvedere?
Yeah,
Yeah. Big wing.
and I think that was his old family car that he built into a race car.
I went to Heidelberg a couple of years. That's when Klotz was running, and Sorg, and Moose Myers, and then the bunch from Markham's down here, Seneker, and the Green Hornet,
Ed Howe.
Ed Howe,
I think
Joey
Bob
Ferry.
James.
Bob James, yeah.
Bobby James from Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah.
I guess Heidelberg's not even around anymore. They wiped that off.
Yep, I don't think it is.
It's gone.
Quite a few years ago, yeah.
Yeah. Skinned it out.
Jim and Lee, I got a question I asked last week, and you guys weren't here. Do you remember what was your first race car? Did you buy it or did you build it?
My first race car, I bought it. And then I had a couple of people helped me work on it, get me started on it, because I was a little bit mechanically inclined, but not the total mechanic, and I was more interested in the driving part of it, forgot about the mechanical part of it, you know. But eventually I did my own work, for the most sake.
I think mine was a 65 Ford. I don't know if somebody give it to me or whatever, but we stripped it out, and that's back in 1975 when they first run the Enduros up to Villa. And I think at one time we started like 56 cars on the track.
Bumper to bumper.
Bumper to
All
bumper.
around the track.
And I
Yeah.
think that was just a regular street stock feature at that
Yeah.
time,
Right.
wasn't it? Or when they
Was it
first started.
Roadrunner?
Roadrunners, yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the first name.
They come out of the pits, and the starting lineup only existed till they got out of the pits. And guys would be, you have guys from the back rows moving up, and
And there wasn't any yellow flags either.
No.
You know,
No,
I mean,
no,
the track
we
was
kept
blocked,
going.
you just drove around them, you know.
mhm.
Now you need to back up and tell the real truth about your first race car and why you got interested in racing. What was the very first race car you ever drove?
Are you talking about the spectator racing?
Yeah.
I was going to say you bought your first car at Kelly, didn't you?
Well, they had spectator racing. Rocky was the promoter of the track at that time, and he had spectator racing, and it was just a one-on-one single elimination for one lap.
Correct.
And that time I had a 1979 Corvette that I run, and I was only beat once in 3.5 years.
Right.
And, that was by a drag car. It was a Mopar, but
We had to bring them in.
well, sure.
People were complaining about you winning every week.
Yeah.
But that's what started the situation, you know, as far as racing.
And we even had we had some of the drivers that used to do that once in a while too, under assumed names like I did, and Al Grog,
Yeah.
Yeah.
jump in somebody else's car. And
Yeah.
I caught one guy at New Paris one night. I knew what his real name was. He'd always driven under a fake name, and that came across, and I go, wait a minute, go poke your head in that car. And he's like, get out of here.
yeah, I don't know what Al Grog's name was, but they called me Lester Scatterfield.
Yeah.
In fact, Al Grog's the one that beat me in that red and white Plymouth or Dodge. It was a drag car because they had big wheels on the tires on the back. And he beat me off the line, and I tried to pass, and he just mirrored me up and down, you know.
He didn't
so-
drift on you.
No.
Well, didn't you sponsor one of Lee's cars at one time?
Yeah,
didn't you?
yeah, for 1 or 2
1980, the
years or
Nova,
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
the Nova.
I got that picture of that old car.
Would you
So,
give me that copy of that picture? Because I've been asking for
I got it.
And I just
Fine.
found one
Yeah.
last
Okay.
night. I was going to
It's
go
on-
getting
it's
ready
on-
for
it's
the
on my
party.
photo.
Okay, November the 14th, I'd like to have a copy of that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it on
That's it.
Photo Bucket. It's on there. So
Is that just the car? Because mine's got
Yeah.
some other people in it.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
yeah.
you might want to get.
we'll turn 3 and 4 to Villa.
You
Walls
brought
back
something
on.
with you, Jim. What's that you got hanging alongside the chair there?
Well, this is a copy, or a picture of the Monte Carlo that I ended up racing the last few years at Bearfield and Angola.
I think that's on my
Opening.
opening
opening,
and closing, yeah. So the girls put that together.
And this one is the Camaro I started out with. It's still, the chassis and frame is still running at Bearfield, number 28, or no. Oh, he's the doctor's son. It's a black Sights Racing.
Oh,
Where were they?
82.
82, yeah.
Yeah.
So that
Tommy
car's
White
been
was
around
the
for a long
number.
time.
Yeah.
And this is my track championships at Bearfield, the years at Bearfield and Novella, and Angola was called Steuben County Speedway years ago. Now it's Angola Speedway. There's 13 track championships there, 9 at Bearfield. So, proud of those.
Yeah.
You had 1 year at Bearfield where you won the first, how many features in a row?
6 features in a
Or
row.
6 features in a row.
And then at Avila 1 year, I won 11 out of 15 features.
Pretty good for a guy who didn't get started in racing
Yeah.
till
Yeah, I
you
was
were
pretty old, yeah.
38.
I was more like 43.
Was it really?
Yeah.
And you used to come up to Kalamazoo for the Super Shoe. and
Yes, right
did,
up there
Did fairly well.
every year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So.
I went with Jim to South Bend Speedway one night. At that time, Greg Early and Ray Bear were the hot dogs up there, and usually Greg Early won if he didn't. Ray Bear won, and we went up there and Jim won the dash, heat, and feature that night. And boy, I tell you, the fans were just ecstatic. Just somebody else beside those two guys won, and they were just tickled to death.
That was fun.
That's right.
Then I made a lot of good friends up there. You know,
Yeah.
you're talking about Ray Bear and Greg Early. We've become excellent friends. You know, just they would come down to Villa on occasion. You know, and so
There always was a little bit of rivalry between South Bend and Fort Wayne. Dick Good and
Bingo 5. Yeah.
yeah, and
Jim
other guy,
Blunt.
Jim
Blunt's
Blunt,
there, yeah.
and I'm trying to think of that guy that had the Hudson with
Ray
Wright.
Ray
Wright,
Wright.
yeah.
Yeah.
They'd come down here. That's when we were on South Anthony. They'd come down and blow our doors off, and they always had something faster.
Well,
than we
Jim
did.
paid them back.
And then Klotz set me up once for a deal up there, but we ain't going to get into that today. It'd take too long. But we didn't whip the South Bend boys very often. They sure whipped us a lot.
Dave Paul was another name, I believe, from South Bend.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Some-
kind of ironic that I mean, Fort Wayne's. We've had some great race drivers here, some good racing over the years, but it's amazing how many drivers have come out of that South Bend area. Ryan Newman, David Stremme,
Yeah.
you know, Tony
Tony
Raines
Raines,
is
yeah.
from LaPorte,
LaPorte,
but
yeah.
he raced in the South Bend area a
Yeah.
good part of his career.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, you had 4 guys on any given weekend.
Chad
that were in
Blunt was
that
another
NASCAR.
Chad Blunt.
at the ARCA level and
Yeah.
whatever.
Gordy and Nolan Johncock from my era, they come out of that area. They were out of Barron Springs, Michigan at the time, but they ran out of South Bend. And
And there's some of the big names that run up there that didn't go on like you thought they would have, like Seneca and
Yeah.
Eddie and, you know,
Yeah.
people like that that just,
Eddie was a good driver. Seneca
ran a little bit of NASCAR.
he ran some
Yeah, here
NASCAR
and there,
when
yeah.
we were down there, but he never
Yeah.
got a good ride. I don't know why.
Well, Mike Eddie's got a son, Travis, has run modifieds. I think this might be his second year in modifieds and did real well in that USA
Yeah.
division.
Till they got mad at the officials and quit going.
sometimes
get
that
mad.
happens when you get mad at officials. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
You know, them officials pick on you.
Well, they
Earl Baldus.
what they do with the modified bodies nowadays, I don't like it. I call them late modifieds.
Yep.
My comment was, if you want an outlaw, build one.
Yeah.
If you want a modified, build one. That's why I liked Brent Martin when he came out this year, because it was a modified body. It looked like a modified, but I kind of disagree with what they're doing. But as long as everybody's following the USA book, that's what we'll let them run. So
Yeah, but all racing, back when your dad and I and Rocky, well, not Rocky was an intermediate class, but we used to build our own cars. Now you don't build your cars, you
Yeah.
buy it. You buy this, buy that, and assemble it. It's an
Yeah.
assembly.
I think with the early modified, when the
1989
modifieds
or
first
so.
come on the scene, a lot of guys were building their cars because there
Yeah.
wasn't a big outlet for somebody else to build them.
Yeah.
Other than David Weiss, he built a
Yeah.
few.
yeah,
As time went on, of course.
I can remember NASCAR, General Motors or Ford or Chrysler could not put a car out on that racetrack unless they built so many more for the general public to buy. I think it was 1,000 or 2,
501 I think was the number.
something like that they had to build and sell to the general public before they could bring one out there that looked like that. Now, they all look the same to me.
I still think I've seen less than 10 Pontiac Le Manses like Bobby Allison had that one year down there in my life. I hardly ever see one of those on the road. They built just enough of that
Yeah.
with that rear window. So
It's
Yeah.
like back in, what was it, 73 or whatever. Vern Schrock come down with that sleek-looking Buick Century or whatever it was at that time. Real slanted nose on front and back both.
Yeah.
Run really good.
Well, the big controversy in the USA Modifieds this year was the sail panels.
yeah,
From the C post on back, there was a lot of wings and things, you know, a lot of bends with bending brake, you know, and so they had to remedy that situation.
yeah.
Well, Rocky, you're not saying much this morning.
Well, I'm thinking
tired.
about all of the bends and brakes and all the front ends and rear ends and sleekness, and we didn't have none of that problem with the midgets and sprint cars.
No,
You had a sprint car and that was it.
they look like a sprint car.
That's right, and it was run what you brung as far as engines and all that stuff goes. You know, there just never was no problem.
But now they have kind of gotten into that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's 360 class, there's 305s, there's 410s, there's tire rules, none of that, played into it years ago. So, like from the, let's say the 65 to up into about 85 or even longer.
Yeah.
Everything was basically the same. You could run the same car for years.
Yeah.
Now they're importing the chassis and they're trying to get them as light as they can. If you flip a car now like we used to flip them, you threw it away. You didn't fix it. The car you asked me about earlier, we're fixing a frame. That car was end over end. It's a down tube car, and the normal racers, they throw them away. That's
Right.
all like this and bent up. Well, I'm fixing it up. Just going to put it together for my grandson, just to learn how to start a sprint car, go get some laps at Bearfield, and then get him into a better car.
Mm-hmm.
And then take that car for the future hopes, as we talked about. I wanted to put up on a pole at the museum,
Yeah.
put that sprint car up on a pole. That's my intention of doing that,
Yeah.
if they'll let us do it, But first, for the kid to learn how to start it and steer it, because it's in and out box and all that stuff, That's a little different than starting a car with a starter. So,
Yeah, racing has changed quite a bit since we first got
Oh, yeah.
started. And in fact, I can't believe some of the stuff goes on in racing today, but it does. And every day, of course, NASCAR is the big draw, and next to that's the IRL. And it used to be if you ran Indianapolis, you had to win a championship somewhere along the way in midgets or sprints. You'd work your way into it. Now you get you a briefcase and a college education and
That's for
somebody to back you, and that's how you get into it. And the more money you get, the better ride you get. And that's the problem that they're having at NASCAR right now is
Yeah.
sponsorship on the kind of that nobody's got $8-10 million they can play with every year to put a car out on the track. There's some real good drivers that's not going to be running next year.
Yeah.
If not, if they're going to be running, they'll be running in the Nationwise or something like that, a ARCA show, or I don't know. This Hooters they don't run yet. Hooters
It's
and
called the USA.
Yeah.
Hooters and what was that other ASA?
ASA, well,
ASA
they're
is still around.
There's two
not like it
ASAs
used to
now,
be,
yeah.
Yeah,
but
now we got the CRA cars.
It's a
That's
crate
a good
engine
class.
deal, I think ASA is now in it.
Yeah. 'Cause
There's-
see, that's where he's driving a Chevrolet for Hendricks.
Mark Martin.
Mark Martin and Rusty Wallace. Them guys come
Oh, a
out
lot of
ASA.
ASA drivers went on to NASCAR.
Yeah.
Were very successful.
And same way. Now ARCA, there weren't that many. Benny, what's it called? Parsons come out of the ARCA class.
But now ARC has become a big training class for these driver development.
Yeah.
It's 18-year-old kids, 17-year-old kids, or I don't know if you have to be 18
Or
not,
13
but-
like Bill
Yeah,
Elliott's
Bill
boy.
Elliott's
Yeah.
13-year-old son raced at Winchester.
Yeah.
Another name comes to mind would be Alan Kowicki, come out of the
Yeah.
ASA
Yeah.
He come
ranks.
out of the ASA.
Dick Trickle,
Yeah.
Well,
Trickle
semi-retired
came out
was
of
it?
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
But,
cheeseheads chased him out of Wisconsin down here. Him
You
and
mentioned briefcase a minute ago, and I remember the story. Dick Trickle, when he went down to interview for a ride in NASCAR, said he dressed up, took his briefcase with him. Somebody said, "What'd you have in the briefcase?" He said, "A sandwich for my lunch."
And he probably had cigarets in there. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a carton of cigarettes, I'm sure.
and I'm sure he knew where he'd get something to drink afterwards.
Yeah.
You get back to the cost of racing,
Yeah.
you know how it's escalated. Back in 1970, I won the Lima Land Championship and the Eldora Championship, same year. And tires, back then, Hoosier made a recap tire for dirt, $55. I only bought 2 all year,
Mm-hmm.
and made a living, and won championships. Now it's 2 new tires every race, sometimes 3, at about $180 a clip.
Well, there's
Just
some-
on dirt.
Yeah,
you know.
there's some places that you put new tires on every race, aren't
Yep.
they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that just
Well,
somebody-
what they do now is, and the same on the pavement, you qualify and they mark your tire when you go out, and that's the tire you got to start the feature on, the right rear. Rest of them you can move around. But
yeah.
Yeah.
It was a
Well, you
good
started
deal.
doing that at Bearfield this year towards the end of the season.
Had to.
In the modified class, I believe,
Yeah,
that they were marking tires.
we got
Ones
tired
you
of-
qualified on, you had to raise.
We got tired of watching parades.
Yeah, we had the recaps back when we started running the, I guess it would have been late 70s also up in Village, and it was $50 tire, $55 tire.
Yeah.
And you went through some, but you get into that, we also got into the shaving and buffing of the tires. So you're cutting off a brand new tire, you're cutting off half tread just so you get some bite
Yeah.
And softening.
and softening.
Soaking them up.
Yeah.
That happened. The first racing tires that I ever seen came out of Chicago. I don't know who built them, but they had half a tread. Norb Koskoff and Whitey Demery and Mickey Potter's, Ray Walters, him and McCulloch brought some out, and they had half of a tread and the other half of it was slick, and they were a recap on any. We used to run 715s, and then it went to 815s, and that's what you ran for tires back then. Put a 616 on the left front. Nobody knew anything about setting up chassis or shocks or anything else like that. Now, people's got more money in their shocks than I used to have in my whole car. But this is technology all the way up to the class we're at today.
Well, I had a tire, it wasn't a recap though, but it was an M&H Racemaster that I got shipped in. It wasn't 1970, it was before 1970. And we used to run Eldora on Sunday afternoons, and that track would get hard and slick. They ran about 4 classes.
Yeah.
And so the tire, about that much of it was treaded, diamond cut like the dirt car.
Yeah.
And then the other was smooth, but they had it grooved with about that big of diamonds.
Yeah.
So you could run right up on the cushion next to the wall, and that your outside to keep digging, and while the other side was trying to work on that hard slick stuff, and it
Well,
worked really good.
Yeah, well, back when you're talking about, everybody had a grouping iron.
Oh yeah,
A soldering iron.
Yeah.
Still
I don't,
do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen any around the racetrack for years.
Yeah.
Oh, they still have them.
They still got 'em?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because
Everybody-
they take the blade and turn it over so that there's just 2 instead of
Just one
and what they call siping the
Yeah.
tire.
Side
Yeah.
tire. Yeah.
And
like a
they
rain tire.
Yeah, and they sipe the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see them do it. And after some of the places that not are high rollers, the guys that can't afford it, they'll run a race, and then they'll come in and regroove the tire themselves before they go out the next time. They keep that groove keeps getting wider. They keep trying to get a sharp edge on it. See?
Yeah.
And there's different size blades to be able to do that. So. Yeah, they're still.
It's like a soldering iron. That
Yeah.
thing is heated, and I can remember them from way back in
Oh, yeah.
the old days.
Yeah.
But the very first racing tire was half treaded, like you say, that diamond, and the
Yeah.
other half was smooth. A lot of here again, where I don't know. I brought it up before about the olden days. Bill Budd, Mike Gladio, and Ray Walters and McCulloch's. They were more or less the brains of the Fort Wayne Racing Association when it first got started. Nub Weissong, Nub was he broke away from him and started Northeastern Indiana Racing from Fort Wayne Racing Association. Nub more or less was like us. You build something and you run it. And I don't know, the other crew, we'd sit in meetings all winter long. We'd have a meeting about once a month at the Pastime Club right there on Wells Street, right across from Smokey's, that corner
Record shop.
church. Down in the basement, they had a meeting room down there that hold about 40 or 50 people. And they also had a cooler down there, and they'd have sandwiches and beer and pretzels, and once in a while they'd have one over on Spy Run there at Hospitality at St. Liver would have them over in there. And they'd set up and make the rules for next year. And you get out the big track with your car after you set it up for the rules. Anything that Bill Budd, Mike Gladio had never looked anything like the rule book. And they were instrumental in putting the thing together.
Yeah, I think Dad was part of that association too. 'Cause I think
Yeah.
I've still got 1 or 2 of the patches.
Yeah.
And say he built, I don't know how many cars he built, but he had one go through the billboard. out the big track.
That's when Bobby Keller was in. Your
Right.
dad built one worked on one that Hoagland, Jim Hoagland.
Jim Hoagland drove
yeah,
for
number
him,
29.
and Pete Winkler.
Yeah, and then your dad worked at Swanson Chevrolet when I did.
Yeah,
There.
he was there for a long time. Then he
Yeah.
went to Grieger's, and they.
Did your dad drive too, or just?
No, he
No.
just built them. So he was the pit steward later on, but he just built the car and stuff because he had a gas station back when he was younger. And
Yeah.
That's the big shame nowadays with racing, is that with point standings and everything else, and everybody's got 15 different tires to run 15 different tracks, that you just don't see guys travel around anymore. I mean, it's when I grew up, I was at a villa every Saturday because my dad worked for Howard at the drag strip, and you never know when you'd see a Mike Eddy or a Bob Senecker tow into the pits because everybody ran the same rules and everybody had the same tires everywhere. And
Yeah.
and sadly nowadays, it's every class wants more tire, and the tire companies just want to sell you a tire that they're going to make sure you buy another tire. And I'm rolling my eyes seeing that NASCAR wants to go to an even wider tire than they currently have. And the sad fact is, everybody talks about the racing not being as good these days. Well, the cars are too fast for the tracks anymore. They've gone past what these tracks were built to handle speed-wise, and you're not going to get competitive racing unless you slow the cars back down. So
We were talking about that last week. We were talking about Winchester. We used to turn Winchester in 22 seconds. Then it got to where you really had a fast car. You break
Yeah.
20 seconds. Now what are they turning it in 13, 14 seconds?
yeah, Chris Gabehart was under 15, qualified for the
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
400. Yeah.
You get a couple cars that run that way, and once they get out of traffic, you can't catch them.
I don't think the USAC Sprints turned that first time I went to Winchester back in the 70s. I don't think
No.
15-second lap time for those. And now
No.
they're doing it with stock
No,
cars.
we were about in the 16s.
Yeah.
they tried slowing them cars down years ago, and they come out with that Grand Mark series.
Yeah.
All
6-cylinder.
cut,
When they
cookie
were
cutter
6-cylinders
cars,
in.
sick V6s.
Yeah,
They come out, the
Oh,
celebrity
Dillon cars, yeah.
14 grand, go racing. And
Yeah.
I'm surprised it didn't work because it was a good class.
Yeah.
But you see, it doesn't matter if it's a NASCAR track or if it's Bearfield or Winchester, where the faster the field gets, the less action you're going to see.
Yeah. Yep.
If you if you get them too fast, and really the spectators, they don't care. Like if you go to Bearfield, they don't know if the car's running 120 mile an hour or 90 mile an hour.
Right.
And if they're all together racing, that's what's going to turn them on.
Yeah.
So.
You were talking about tires a little bit ago. 1993, 94, 95, Tom Ish promoted 3 racetracks along with Jim Amstutz with marketing and public relations. On Friday night we'd run up Bearfield, Saturday we'd run up at Deville, Sunday we'd go to Plymouth. Had the same rules and did that for 3 years. And I myself never missed a race in 3 years.
See
But that was kind of neat because of the tire situation. You had the same type of tire.
Yeah, back 77, 78 when I had Bearfield, what was the new class of late models that we were running at the time?
Yeah,
Vice
called
basically got
limited
us
late models.
limited late models. Put on some really good shows. Well, I was not getting, I felt, enough cars. Of some of the guys that were running a Villa weren't running Bearfield and vice versa. And so we talked to them, and they said, well, if you guys get your heads together and let us run quick change rear ends, we could run both of them.
That was a
So
big thing. They had to change gears.
I start talking about it, and said we're going to go to that. Vice got awful upset. Well, then in later years, I mean, it was back and forth, racetrack against racetrack, no harmony. Well, then later on, after I took over the Sod Sprint Car deal, him and I became friends, and he booked 5 races with me. And we went to Kokomo together. We went to Angola to talk about USAC races and different things. And he talked about the rules that he was running at that time. And it stuck in my head what he said. I said, well, why don't you do this or that? He said, because I don't want my guys going anyplace else. I want them to race here.
Right.
So then right away, back when the quick changes came up, that's what the big argument was.
Well, they're in the late 60s and 70s. Fairfield, Avila, and Steuben County, which is Angola now, all three of them run on Saturday
Yeah.
nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
see, that's-
And there was enough drivers, seemed like it went around. And once in a while, a driver from Avila would show up to Bearfield. Well, he either got kicked out or he got mad or something, you know. So he come to Bearfield. I'm going to show that promoter that I'm not going to go back there and race for him. Well, you learn to say never, not to say never, because you always come back, you know,
Right.
and never say never.
But
Yeah.
you know, in our area with the 3 tracks, when they had a villa running, they went and did the same thing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The fans start migrating too, follow their drivers. You know, they weren't going to get hurt. You know, you say, well, Friday's not a good night. Well, Saturday is the racing night. But there are tracks such as Plymouth who make it on a Sunday, or used to. I think they switched to Saturday.
Yeah, they did
Nights.
too. Yeah.
Look
But,
at Gas City running Friday nights
yeah.
forever, you know.
So if you
They
got a
used to run
show,
in the middle of the
that
week.
people
Yeah.
will come. So
I lived in central Pennsylvania for quite a while, and they got a track there that runs Thursdays and is very successful.
Yeah, we
So,
run, what, Tuesdays?
Tuesday and Saturdays at
Yeah.
Bearfield.
Yeah.
Years
Well,
ago.
that's, when we used to run earlier, South Anthony was built, it was, you sat right up on top of the racetrack, you see there's an action track, and they used to run Saturday nights and Tuesday nights, and
Right.
it packed the place.
mhm.
But back there, things were different than what it is today.
Right.
Back then, we had an association we belonged to, the Fort Wayne Racing Association, Northeastern, and you ran with those guys and you traveled wherever they could promote a race. Today, the promoters run the racetrack.
Yeah.
And like Bill France Sr. or Jr. now, or the other guy runs NASCAR,
Grandson.
they set the rules and do the talking. Whereas if it would have really happened back, I'm going to say early 70s, when Richard Petty and Pearson and all them guys boycotted Talladega, Alabama on safety issues and that, if they would have had a association and had it yet, I think racing would be a lot different. I think it'd be
Well, they did that for a year. They had what they called a PDNA, Professional Drivers
Drivers, yeah.
Association, and then
Yeah.
Richard Petty was the president, but he didn't know much about associations, you know. And Big Bill France never backed down.
Now, there
No.
was a
They-
show on last Sunday night, David
I
Spain,
saw that. I saw that was
about
neat.
that first Talladega race.
The only place that really has that right now would be drag racing. NHRA does with the
Yeah.
two nitro classes. They've got a very active organization like that walks hand in hand with the sanctioning body and forces them to do a few things here and there for the betterment of the sport. So
Because if NASCAR right now wants to go to a 12-inch or 15-inch tire, if they decide that's what they need and everything, they decide that, and then they tell everybody else, Joe Gibbs and Roush and everything, this is what it is, and you run what
Yeah.
we got.
Just like they did with the new car.
You know, the
Yeah.
CR, what used to be called the COT. But
Right.
it's- I guess the car of
Today.
today,
Car of
you know,
today.
so.
But I think NASCAR, or maybe I'm wrong, but I think instead of going bigger on tires, they need to go smaller on
I've been
tires.
saying that for a long time.
They
2
need
inches
to-
all the way around.
They need to go to 10-inch rubber. That'll slow the guys down and get rid of the restrictor plates and let them go racing.
Yeah, make them lift going into the corners.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't need to go into the corners any faster than they already are. As a new car looks to be safer, but if you get 2 more inches of tire all the way around, you're going to be driving that much deeper into the corner, and you're going to tip over that line to where this car is safe, and it's just as bad as the old one.
That's right.
As far as rules, the racers have always been their own worst enemy.
Yeah,
I mean, they always want more and more, faster and faster, and when you go faster, it costs more money. It's just
Right.
that simple.
Yeah.
I remember when Rocky was promoting Bearfield, we ran Pro Track tires at that time.
right.
Well, a lot of the guys wanted to run a Hoosier
Street
retread
tire,
street tire that was a lot softer than the Pro Track. Of course, you had to buy a lot of them. With Pro Track, you could run it for a long time. And Rocky did the fair thing. He finally let them run, but he paid out a Pro Track bonus
Right.
of $75, $50, and $25 or something like that. And I was associated with Bobby Smith at that time, and we went out there and ran maybe 8th place or so in the feature because we had the Pro Tracks on, but we'd get that Pro Track bonus and end up making more money than the 3rd or 4th place car and not spending money every week or two on tires.
Well, yeah, the guys with the Hoosier tire, they were having to buy tires 4 or 5 races. They have to buy another tire, you know. Where the Pro Track, hell, they run half a season
Right.
sometime.
Well, that's what we're at right now at Bear Field, is that with Angola not running weekly, we would like to try to get some kind of area where some of these guys that have street stocks could come down and run with us occasionally. They're not going to make that drive every week, but unfortunately there's such a gap in what's allowed up there versus what we allow. It's what can we allow guys to do without breaking the backs of the guys that are already here. And kind of looking at that, there's a few things in our rule book that maybe could be modernized that wouldn't cost the guys a ton of money, but yeah, it's just things have gotten so spread out to different places, and part of that is, I want to keep guys in my backyard, but unfortunately there's a lot of guys up in that northeast corner of Indiana that just are sitting now.
Yeah, because I don't think they're going anywhere else in racing.
No.
Then I would make an attempt at getting Everidge and see about trying to get uniform rules for the street stocks, and with the intent that he might pick up some of your cars on given nights that are legal,
And we worked really good with Craig last year. It was a good relationship. We stayed away from each other's big shows and trying to help everybody. Well, we found out, and I kind of knew this in the back of my head. We got a couple cars in the mall last, I think, February, and Tom came out to the mall show all 3 days, and found out something I was afraid of, is that as we had these people come by, and hundreds an hour would come by, just how many people on the north side of Fort Wayne. Oh, there's a racetrack in Fort Wayne? Where's that at? I got on an airplane with a guy flying to Florida, 2 people sitting next to me, and they were full NASCAR head-to-toe garb. I go, oh, you guys big race fans? Yeah. And I said, you ever go to the track here in Fort Wayne? I didn't know there was a track. Where's there a racetrack in Fort Wayne? I point out the window of the airplane. I said, right over there. They work at GM.
Really?
And no idea there was a racetrack there. So, I mean, that's, from our standpoint now, is we've got to get back in the community and let people know it's there. So, the Comets can get 10,000 a night, and some nights we struggle to get 1,000. So we gotta let people know we got a good show out there and get the show over faster, which we started working on pretty hard at the end of the year.
Yeah, but I was going to talk to Tom about that. That's probably the biggest complaint I hear from people is we left at midnight and still didn't, we wanted to see this feature.
The last 2 nights, other than some big wrecks, we cut a ton of time out of the show, and those are things we need to keep doing what we did the last couple nights next year. So
Tom kind of has lives under the theory of New Paris. If you like coming to the races for 3 hours, you'll love being here for 6 hours.
Yeah, it was an international show.
yeah.
I taped the first 2 features, and I left at 12:30, and they had 3 more to go.
Yeah, we
And,
left at midnight or
We're
whatever,
still
10
not
after.
sure we made the right decision that
I
night.
think you did, because I'm glad you put it on,
And Hall of Fame night, that was another one. Of course, I've never edited that whole roll of Hall of Fame night because I had camera problems. But one of the things we did back in the days when Jack Riley and I and Sorg and us ran Bearfield and South Anthony and a big track, we were tied in with the schools around here, and we used to at least once a month get something to go on with one of the high schools or something, and put on a program.
We tried a couple things.
Well, even labor unions, carpenters unions, plumbers, electricians, if you can get some interest there, and
But we had
those type
that.
people kind of go with racing,
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried to do something with high school seniors last year. We tried to get a ticket in the hand of every graduating senior. And it was only after it was over, everybody came to us and go, oh, I wouldn't have picked that week to do that. Where were you in the month leading up to it when we could have picked a different date? And we started to do something with the high school bands. We had one out last year, and I think we're going to get some more next year, where we have set it up to be a big fundraiser for them, where we're only getting a couple dollars a ticket, and we give them $1,000 to sell, and if they sell them all, they can make a $4,000 or $5,000 profit for band, and that's a lot of cookies and candy to sell to make $4 or $5
Turkeys
for a
you
band.
don't have to sell at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and they get to come out and perform during the national anthem, and hopefully we get some of the bigger schools to bite on that this year. And the kids had a great time. The ones that were there from, I think it was Elmhurst, they stuck around the night and had a great time. So
Yeah, you got
that's
2
what we need
nice
to
high
do.
schools there, Elmhurst and Wayne both.
Yeah.
And then
I was up to a wedding in Detroit over the weekend, and at this reception, I got to talking to this lady, and she's a principal of a junior high school. And we got to talking, and she said, such and such a date is all these kids, it's going to be called Bring a Veteran to School Day. And I said, wait a minute. I said, what's the deal? Why not we bring a race driver to school day? She said, would you do that? They would love that, you know. And I said, well, let me think about it. I'm just thinking about the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You get with these schools and you get half a dozen race car drivers and some movies
Mm-hmm.
to show them the actual racing and some free tickets and let them come out. They're probably going to come out with their parents
Yeah.
or their girlfriend or something.
And it costs more money, but we've never had the advertisement for racing in Fort Wayne that we should have had.
Yeah.
Bud Gallmeyer done the best job years ago when he went around, and his articles and stuff was
Right.
really nice.
The
Well,
biggest,
Well,
yeah, the biggest thing is getting somebody down at the newspapers interested in doing
Right.
it. That's the biggest thing. I think
Well-
everybody's ran into that.
sadly nowadays, what's in the paper, I write, and they just edit what I send down. There's
I'll-
not a whole lot of sending people out other than for the beat writer for the Comets, Justin or Blake, and the people they send to the Tin Caps. Other than that, it's all rip and paste. I take it
Well,
off the wire and
This
put it in.
year, I will tell you that there's been more articles in the papers since you've been working this year than there has been
Yeah.
for a few years.
Yeah.
But they still, I mean, you still need, a lot of times that stuff doesn't get in.
Mm-hmm.
So they got to bite the bullet and start buying some ads. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a real big one, just for somebody to see every week that you're racing. You know that there is
Yeah.
a racetrack here.
So many
There's
promoters,
300,000 circulation.
so many promoters have gotten to the point they just think that everybody gets online to find out
Yeah,
what's
that's-
going on at their racetrack, and that isn't true. That
No.
absolutely is not true.
We did some different advertising this year and found a really good new marketing partner in one particular radio station, and we're kind of looking at that, moving some of our advertising around. Nothing against the people that we've been advertising with, but we've kind of reached their market, and we've advertised with them 5-6 years in a row, and they know we're here. So we've started reaching out to some different places, some younger stations, and trying to get some of the kids. And the newspaper, the only bad newspaper is just how expensive it
It
still
is
is to
very
advertise in
right,
it.
very
So
right.
that's,
Yeah.
you can buy a whole lot of TV and radio for what it costs to do that. So
And I think for the big races, I mean, I used to be a firm believer in advertising in the Mark Times or the Speed Sport News.
yeah,
Mark Times, of course, is non-existent now, but
again,
again,
yeah,
but for a big race, you don't necessarily have to advertise your weekly races, but I think your 3, 4, 5 big races
Yeah.
a year, I think it'd be beneficial to.
well, we tried to stay away from big races this year, not knowing what was going money-wise.
Yeah.
Of course, the international show, that doesn't take a ton of advertising with that because they basically almost sell out the place
Yeah.
on their own. Our outlaw show we put together in 20 days. We didn't have time to advertise that. That was a last-minute substitution, but yeah, we got a to-do list, and we didn't get very far down it this year. We got a lot more to work on, and it's a process, and hopefully we can get the place back to where it was. But
I remember once Jim Amstutz' dad was a member of the Kiwanis Club or the Octopus Club or something, and they invited me over to give a talk about local racing, and gave tickets away to those members, and brought their families in and their grandchildren in, and that was a pretty good deal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we did the Honda Goldwings this year and the Corvette Club, and they had a ball, and I think you're going to see 2 to 3 times as many of those next year because the people we've gotten out and we get them out to the track, they're having a good time, and those are the ones we got to get back.
It just goes back to the thing,
Yeah.
you just got to get the show right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's
In good time.
we're getting down to the final touches of this show. This thing, the 14th,
Mhm.
there'll be a lot of discussion like we've had here the last 55 minutes going on. It be over a sandwich or a brew or something, but there'll be something exciting going on, and maybe even somebody might tell the truth.
Maybe.
We've contacted some people that didn't come to the last one. We're trying to get at this one. I know Lee's brother Lane told me that Winchester, that they ran into Jim Martin, who raced around here for many, many years, and he showed an interest. He lives in the Louisville area now, and he showed an
Yeah.
interest in coming. I had a phone call last Friday evening. Bob put it on their website for Bearfield, and I had a phone call last Friday evening from a gentleman in Athens, Texas, whose dad was a mechanic on Dick Salesman's car at South Anthony,
Pappenbrook?
and then he lived in, his name was David Ray,
No.
And he lived in Waynedale growing up and went to Bear Field many times. And he wanted to know if he could send me a DVD that he had collected of Dave's sword, mainly Dave's sword, that if we could show it. And I said, sure. Then he called me back Monday and he said, hey, I've got this all ready to send out. Would it be okay if I sent a money order along with it? I said, well, sure it would be. So I got that in the mail Wednesday.
Well, there's going to be, there will be, I don't want to say hundreds, but there's going to be a lot of race drivers
Right.
who made their names in Fort Wayne over the years. We got a ton of them. So anybody that comes, like you're saying, after the dinner, want to come here and dance and drink,
Yep.
and meet these people or renew acquaintances and get autographs, those guys will be there. So
Yeah.
I'm making some phone calls up in the Bryan area, and
Okay.
Fremont, and all up through there around the Butler area. But those guys race down there,
Right.
you know, at a villa with their dirt cars. And so I'm trying to get some of those guys
That'd
lined
be
up.
great.
So
That would be great.
Need name tags. I don't know. I don't think we had them out there last year, did we?
I
just
don't
get
think
some stick
we
on
did.
it.
I think,
cheap
yeah,
office
I need.
people.
I think you need some name tag and a marking pencil and put the big letters on for with so I can take these glasses off and I can see who's who.
Yeah, hear everybody talk about how fast they used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The older you get, the faster you were.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say that. All I got to say is associated with my racing career, I ran into a lot of slow cars and fast women.
You ran into them, like hit them in the back or what, or got hit by 'em?
Well, I don't know. The cars that I ran, they would they're pulling the cars through the pits faster with their pickup trucks than we ran.
Just a quick trip around to the drivers. Lee, how many features do you suppose you won in your career?
I don't know for sure. That championship year, I think we said 5 at Bear Field, and then I think I had 10 or 11 that year. So it would have been 79, would have been the best year.
Jim?
I had 156 in 19 and a half years, feature wins.
Rocky?
I'm over 100 with sprint cars and midgets, mainly sprint cars, but I did have probably 25 with the midgets before I moved into sprint cars. I only ran them roughly 3 years, and then went to sprint cars, and that's what I ran the rest of my life. So 40 years, you might say.
Makes my 3 look
Paul?
Actually, 5. 5 is all that I won. I got 3 posted at South Anthony, 1 at the big track, and 1 at Clem's Lake. That's where I made all my money, is Clem's
And
Lake.
how many feature wins did you win?
I was lucky to get in the feature.
I was gonna say, Paul makes me feel good 'cause my 3 now it looks a little better. I never quite made it up into cars, but
Well, see,
much so.
I won that 1 at Clem's Lake, and that's the money race. That's what really put me into financial. So, but I know some of the guys used to break my heart when they'd talk about winning $12, $15 at Clem's Lake. I know that that's not so today. So anyway, we're down to the last 60 seconds of this program. So like I said earlier, this is the fastest 1 hour we'll ever sit and converse with one another. And I want to see everybody that's watching this program out at 241 in Waynedale. I think you'd want to see them too.
Sure. Bigger crowd, the better.
Walk up and introduce yourself to us, and we'll have a name tag. Our name will be on there, and it'll be big enough that you can read. If well, let's see. Everybody here's got glasses. You got contacts?
No, I got my glasses somewhere.
Well, 5 of us are sitting here with shades on. Ed can still see
Now,
without.
I've got a question. If we do the name tags, how big a one do we have to have for Rocky under all his assumed names he races?
Well, you just put a string around a cardboard, and he could keep flipping it over.
I never knew how many times I actually watched Rocky race until I
Yeah.
found out later that he ran under
That's
some
right.
assumed names.
Well, that was over the USAC deal.
Yeah.
You know, I was Dean Slagle and Rusty Perry, and what's the Ford dealer and our Chevrolet dealer?
Ross Ham.
Ross
Ross
Ham,
Ham. Yeah. But
and
Dick,
others.
my brother Dick used to run under Willie Wynn.
Yeah.
There's all kind of. Well, that concludes our talk today. What program the things go on the thing, and if your name is spelt right, I think so.
Pretty close.